we're going to be checking out today. It's a Hoops NBA Mythbusters. Did Gary Payton really shut Michael Jordan down? Let's do it. Okay, reactors, welcome back to the channel, the Nuclear Reactor, the reaction channel where all the reactions go nuclear. Before we get into this video, though, if y'all are a sports fan, go over to my sports channel, Ring Culture, link in the description. But back over here, playing a Nuclear Reactor, y'all know I believe every action deserves a reaction. And over here, we are very reactionary. Make sure y'all like and comment down below. That's how y'all push me into the algorithm. And then I'll go get them with my content, hit them and fit them and sit with them. Subscribe and hit the bell notification so y'all can be notified for every time I upload, and I upload a lot. Share my videos, hype my channel. Let's get into this. So It's a Sports did an NBA, they have NBA Mythbusters videos, and they did a video on did Gary Payton really shut down Michael Jordan? Because in the 1996 finals, Michael Jordan numbers did not look so great. So without further ado, I actually want to check this out. Let's go. Wait, Michael Jordan numbers didn't look so great according to his standard. According to anybody else's standard, the numbers were great, 27 points per game. But anyway, let's go.
As a kid growing up in the 2000s, I never got to watch Gary Payton in his prime. And watching film wasn't really something young children do. Right. So all I was really left with was the folklore I'd heard about him from the previous generation. Payton was a phenomenal defender, winning Defensive Player of the Year in 1996.
Yeah.
In the 96 finals, he famously locked down arguably the greatest scorer in NBA history. As I've gotten older, I learned that first part was no tall tale.
Right.
Payton was an incredible perimeter defender.
Yes, he was.
But what about his supposed shutdown of Michael Jordan? Did Payton really stymie the most unstoppable player of his generation? Or was this just another one of the myths of...
He definitely had something to do with slowing Michael Jordan down. But y'all heard me say this again. Y'all heard me say this before. This finals was an anomaly to me because I've never seen Jordan struggle against Payton other than like 3 games in this series, but never before. Like, he always had his way. And I never really like delved into it. I just accepted it for what it was. Jordan played against great players, contrary to what some people today like to say. So it's to me, it was just par for the course.
It's just another one of the myths of NBA history.
I don't know if the outcome would have been different, but it was a difference and beating him down a little bit.
The glove. I had no problem with the glove. I had no problem with Gary Payton.
To be fair, Jordan is notorious for his arrogance, but in this instance, he's absolutely right. As a general rule, you can't completely stop the all-time greats.
No, you can't.
You can only hope to slow them down enough to beat their team. That is what makes them the greats. The Seattle Supersonics clearly found a way to make Jordan less efficient, but there's far more to the story than Payton slaying Chicago's greatest dragon. After 3 grueling rounds to make it to the NBA Finals, head coach George Karl was trying to conserve Payton's body, especially with his massive offensive load, so they chose to have Detlef Schrempf start the series on Jordan, hoping that his length would bother his airness. But the thing that everyone forgets is that Schrempf wasn't the only one who guarded Jordan.
Right.
Throughout the series, Seattle threw multiple defenders at Jordan, never wanting him to get comfortable with one player's tendencies. In fact, in the first quarter of Game 1, I tracked 6 different guys being tasked with this assignment.
Wow.
The Supersonics had other measures in place as well. For instance, they would often deny Jordan the ball to avoid letting him go to work altogether. They also varied their double teams, sometimes bringing them immediately after he caught the ball, other times doing so after Jordan started his attack, to try and throw off his cadence. After losing the first 3 games and surrendering 31 points per game to MJ, Seattle moved the glove onto him. After that switch, MJ averaged just 23.7 points per game, and the Sonics won 2 of those 3 games, which is what caused people to say that Gary Payton shut down Michael Jordan.
Rightfully so.
But I don't think it had that much to do with Payton. How can I say something like that? Let's look at the evidence. First, the Sonics did not really change their defensive game plan. Yes, they did more fronting in the post, but other than that, they still switched defenders numerous times throughout each game, even when Payton was on the floor. They still doubled him a ton, and they still tried to deny him whenever they could. So why did MJ score less points and shoot worse from the floor? If you watch the tape, Jordan didn't look that off balance in the back half of the series. He still got to his spots, and still got off the shots that he wanted. Right here, Jordan hits Payton with a screen reject, drives by him, and slithers his way into the paint for an easy shot at the rim. What is more likely is that Jordan's shots just weren't falling in games 4 through 6.
Yeah.
Look at this clip from the game against the Sonics compared to games against other teams Chicago played during the playoff run. What is functionally the difference between this shot against Seattle and the one he missed against Miami, or this one against the New York Knicks? To be honest, nothing. I get that these are all mid-range shots, which aren't supposed to be efficient, but remember that Jordan is one of the greatest mid-range shooters ever.
Yep.
We don't have mid-range shooting data from that season, but in 1996-97, Jordan hit 52.1% of his shots between 16 feet and the three-point line. For reference, the league average in the ultra-efficient 2024-25 season was just 40%.
Wow.
Another way to verify this observation is to look at his three-point shooting. Even the best perimeter defenders ever can't really affect shots from beyond the arc. Anyway, in games 1 through 3, Jordan shot 50% from downtown. Meanwhile, in games 4 through 6, Jordan just shot 11%.
Wow.
That is not.
And that was also the year when Jordan averaged 42% from three-point land. But if I'm not mistaken, they moved the three-point line in a little bit this season too, to be fair.
Jordan just shot 11%. That has nothing to do with Payton. That's just a hot stretch of shooting, followed by a cold one. Okay. So then why did the Sonics start winning after they made this change?
Right.
The thing that many people don't understand about that series is that Seattle didn't lose to the Chicago Bulls in 1996 because of their defense. In that series, they held the Bulls to a 110.4 offensive rating, which was nearly 5 points below their regular season average, and the second best defensive performance that any team they faced in that playoffs had against them.
Wow.
What cost them was their offense, particularly their lack of ball handling. In 3 of their losses, the Sonics had a turnover percentage of over 17%, and in their 2 wins and the 1 single-digit loss in Game 2, they were under 16%. So they took care of the ball much better in the games that they won or kept close, and forked it over a ton in the games that they lost. Another variable to credit here was Jordan's teammates.
Right.
Like we said, Seattle vigorously double-teamed Jordan whenever he had the ball. At this point in his career, Jordan had developed into a wonderful passer, and he was able to create good looks for his teammates pretty much any time the Sonics brought an extra defender his way. And given how formidable Jordan's teammates were during those years, this was a potent form of offense for the Bulls.
Yes.
But in this particular case, they weren't really able to come through for him. That regular season, the Bulls shot 47.1% from the floor outside of Jordan. In their first 3 series, that number went down, but was still a respectable 44.6%. Even in the first 3 games of the finals, they were shooting 43.2% from the floor. But in the last 3 games of that series, Jordan's teammates shot just 40%.
Yeah, that if you look at the Bulls, first of all, both defenses were doing a great job against both offenses. But yeah, that Sonics team, they bought into defense. They bought into it, and they played great defense. But their whole defensive philosophy was to cut the Bulls off at the head, which is Michael Jordan. So they didn't really want Michael Jordan to go nuts on him. And Michael Jordan, you got to remember, his teammates were much better than they were in the 80s. So he trusted his teammates a hell of a lot more, even though he averaged more assists before he was implemented into the triangle and had these great teammates. But Jordan was just because he had the ball in his hand so much. And his first stint, Doug Collins, the way he coaches, Doug Collins always leaned heavily on his superstar, which is why when he had Grant Hill numbers were just huge because that's how Doug Collins coached. Well, Phil Jackson, when he brought Tex Winters in, Tex Winters wanted an equal opportunity offense that other players can get involved. Now, that would not have worked unless you put better players around the superstar, and Michael Jordan brought into it. But yeah, he was still averaging 30, but low 30s, not mid to high 30s like he was with Doug Collins. So yeah.
Jordan's teammates shot just 40%, so they weren't hitting all the open shots that he was creating for them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to completely dismiss everything Seattle did in that series. From watching the Bulls' other playoff opponents, they tried more creative stuff against Jordan than anyone. And Payton's blend of strength and quickness made him one of the few people on the planet that even stood a chance against Jordan.
Yep.
But if I've learned anything over the years, it's that you can't stop the greats.
No, you can't.
And Michael Jeffrey Jordan is about as great as it gets. I want to give a quick shout out to a sponsor of this channel, StatHead. So many times during my research process, I turn to StatHead to help me contextualize box score stats through a historical lens, and they do it for me in just a few minutes.
Yeah. It probably was more of Jordan just had bad games after that, and it just coincided with Payton being on him. But Gary Payton was a great defender. But when I was watching series back then, it did look like Jordan was just missing. And whenever they sent a double team at him, he just threw it out. Remember, Jordan played in the league where, especially in the 80s and early 90s, was extremely physical. It was still physical in 96. When you watch this series, these two teams were pretty physical with each other, and they played great defense. So, yeah, it might have just been that Jordan was just off the rest of the series, and but that doesn't take away from Gary Payton being a great defender. He obviously was. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think down below. I could be wrong about this. Let me know what y'all think down below. As always, the pleasure will always be mine. The reaction, it will always be yours. I love y'all. Peace.